So, have you guys noticed that the world is slowly losing color? And I'd much more elaborate and say the world is losing creativity. What's up you guys, welcome back to the channel. It's AMW here. I hope you're having a good day wherever you're watching this video from. And today we're going to talk about a different topic, a little bit different from the previous videos, but it's kinda similar. They are kinda connected. So, have you guys noticed that the world is slowly losing color? And I'd much more elaborate and say the world is losing creativity. When you look at the houses we live in, the cars we drive, even the clothes we wear, there's a pattern unfolding in real time. And if you're smart enough, you've already noticed it. The houses we live in, the cars we drive, the clothes we wear, they are somehow changing, not for the better, but for the worst. And I'm going to elaborate on that using these three examples. And the reason why I chose these three examples is because these are the closest things you can think about. And before we talk about these three examples, there's a reasoning behind all this, and I'll tell you guys much later after I elaborate on these three examples. So stay tuned until the end. So if you've been keen enough and looked around, and not even around, even at the house you're living in right now, you might have noticed that there are so much similarities in the floor plan, in the design, in how every room, every space in your house is designed. It's not that way by accident. It was all in a plan. And there was a bigger picture and a bigger reason behind all that. So if you look around and see the houses in your neighborhoods, near you, in the estates that you live, even in your community, you might have noticed something that is going on. You might have noticed that houses nowadays look so similar, the designs are the same, there's not so much creativity, and it's not that way by accident. It's all in a plan, a future plan that will reveal itself in real time. So I'll show you guys a few examples from where I am. So let's look at a few examples. So when you look at this house behind me, it has a simple design. And then look at that house behind there. Have you noticed the difference? That house over there is a flat roof house, and this house is a roofed house. This is a roofed house. That's a flat roof. When you look further, you can see what I was trying to say. All these houses have similar designs. They're not so much different. Same with all these houses you see here. Same design, similar plan. You can even look farther at the end at those apartments over there. They're all blocks, same design, similar colors, not so different. So those are just a few examples from where I am, and I know you guys can look around where you live, your neighborhood, your community, and you can also notice these things that I'm trying to tell you. The houses are similar in a way, the design, the plan, similar. Creativity is not there anymore. It's not by accident, it's all planned. So when you look at even places abroad, places like the US, Canada, Europe, those countries have better examples because these things affect them much more than us. You look how they plan their houses, the type of materials they used to build their houses, the design, the landscaping. They have so much similarities in how they do their stuff. Even the planning of the house has to be approved by the government. You can't just go and buy a land and build your house the way you want it. As I was showing you in those few clips on where I am, you might have noticed that the houses look similar, but they are kind of different in a way. The design actually is kind of different. When you go to countries abroad, they don't have that privilege of having different designs. Like, you can't have your own design, or rather you can't have a different design than your neighbor. Not so much different. They have plans and they have rules. They must follow them. They don't have a choice. You might say that you bought land, you might say you own the property, but the government always lay down the rules and law on how you're going to do, or rather on how you're going to build your house. Here where I am, it's like you can totally do whatever you want, because most of the properties here, or rather most of the lands here, have freehold titles. Most titles, you own them forever. And when you go to urban areas, you're given like 100 years, 99. You can renew it after that. But most parts of where we live, or rather most estates, most rural areas, most suburbs, don't really have so much restrictions, so you can do whatever you want with your land. Because most of the time you find that most lands that have not really been developed by the government, let's say like the government hasn't put sewer, hasn't put piped water, it's the people who really go there and divide the lands into different sizes and then sell it to the public. And when the public go there, they design their own house according to the way they want it. So some things that you're seeing, like I was showing you in those clips, in a gated community abroad, you can't do that. They have laws, they have rules that you must follow. You might say that where I am is kinda underdeveloped, but we still have some kind of freedom in what we are doing. Or rather, we have freedom in a way in whatever we are doing according to architecture, according to the plans of the houses. But when you go to urban areas where I am, there are strict rules there. What I'm trying to talk about is the perspective of the houses we live and the estates and even the rural areas. But in the urban areas in our countries, they have rules. It's not because we are not in the West or we're not in US, Canada or Europe. That doesn't mean that the urban areas don't really have rules. They do. and the rules there are really strict. That's why when I said, when you talk about urban areas, they have 99 years ownership, or rather 100 years, and then after that you can go ahead to the government and write another title. So you find that most of the suburbs, most of the estates, most of the informal settlements in where I am, you don't really have a strict plan on how you should do your house, or rather on how you should build your house. I've seen in some places in the Western nations that any step you make when you're building your own house, you have to go for a license. Every step you make, you have to go for a license. And this is kind of trying to discourage people from building their own houses. They want you to outsource everything. They don't want you to really build your own house on your own. They want you to bring in contractors, architects, and all that stuff. Even if you have your own degrees or papers, they really discourage you from doing it on your own. They want you to outsource everything. And also, every step you make, like I said, they want you to have a license. So it becomes so difficult to do that. So like I said earlier in the video, there's a reason behind everything that you're seeing and everything that I'm trying to explain to you guys. When you look at all those houses, when you look at all those designs, there's a reason behind it, and I'll tell you guys after I go through the next two examples. So the next example is cars. Have you guys noticed that the cars that you're driving nowadays have similar colors, have similar designs? Like, there's no much creativity nowadays. You see that nowadays the cars that people drive have dull colors like grey, black, white, very dull colors. And even you can go further and talk about the materials that the cars have. The cars nowadays have too much plastic, have very weak body. They don't really try so hard to create cars nowadays. And the cars that we drive are being made by robots nowadays. They're not handmade anymore. So you can say that the only handmade cars nowadays are the luxury brands, are the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, the McLarens, the Audis, and even the top levels in BMW, Mercedes. Those are the only cars you can say that are handmade nowadays. And even in those luxury brands, you can notice that they're not so good looking as they used to be a long time ago. Nowadays you're seeing them adopting this boxy shape in all the designs in their cars. Like when you look at the latest designs of Audi, of Mercedes, of BMW, of Ferrari, or even Lamborghini, they have this boxy shape that they're trying to put in their designs. It's such a shame to look at like top-notch designs like La Ferrari going to extinct. And you can also look at the engines that the cars are being built with. There's no more V12 aspirated engines anymore. It's a V12 with a hybrid engine. It's a V8 with a hybrid engine. Or even you find that the cars that are being built nowadays are fully electric with a boxy shape. Like the Tesla, that pickup that Tesla designed that looks so funny. It's all boxy design. So when you look at all these cars nowadays, they are dull, they have funny designs, they're created with very poor materials except the luxury ones. Like, we're slowly losing taste in all the cars that we are designing, and our creativity in designs is going away. So I was talking about cars, and the reason why I was talking about cars, it's another example to show you how the world is slowly changing from being creative to being dull to being boring to being in a situation where people are living like they're in some kind of simulation. So this is just another example. And if you guys noticed the cars that you drive, the design, the shape, the color, the engine, then you will understand we are slowly losing taste and creativity. So the next example is the clothes that we wear. So when you talk about clothes, you can look back in history and see that people who lived back in the days had so many different designs in the clothes they used to wear. They didn't really wear uniform clothes like the way I see people go to school. They wear uniform. People who go to work wear suits. And when you look at the type of clothes people are wearing nowadays, it's like people don't really have taste in the designs. They don't really have creativity. It's just that people are just wearing clothes for the sake of wearing them. And when you have clothes which are well designed, they're so expensive. Normal people can't really afford them. So to normal people, you're forced to wear same clothes, same designs, not so much different from other people. So you find that we're kind of being boxed into this simulation in a way of wearing the same clothes, same designs, just because we can't afford good designed clothes. And when you look at the kind of designs people are wearing, the normal people, it's always like a trend that has been created for a certain time for people to wear a certain design. Like, it's always a trend. People are boxed in this trend for a period of time just because the people who design these clothes, the companies, they come up with trends, and they always use celebrities, they use musicians to show people on what they should wear a certain time in a certain period. So you find that most of the people don't really use their minds or really do what they want, and they don't really dress the clothes they really want. They always follow the trends, and that is not by accident. It's all planned to put us in a box, to put us in some kind of simulation. So if someone asks me why the world is losing color, or rather why the world is losing creativity, it's simply because the people behind all these systems that are in place, the banking system, the real estate, the governance, everything that you can think about that is helping you to live a certain life, it's all been planned for the future. And the future is in such a way that all of us have to conform to certain rules, to certain way of life. So there will be no more thinking for yourself, doing things on your own. Everything will be planned, and everything will go according to what they want, because they are the same people who own the system. They are the same people who say how they want the money to move around the world. So that's how the future is going to shape. You guys are very keen even in the movies that you watch. Have you ever noticed that all the ideas that you see in the movies are somehow like they're trying to feed us breadcrumbs on how the future will be? When you look at movies like the Star Wars or any other movie that depicts a future that is yet to be revealed, they always show these things in real time. So you guys are keen enough, you'll notice how the world will be shaped. And you might think that the movies is fiction, it's a story, it's all make-believe. If you're smart enough, you'll notice the messaging behind everything that you see in the movies and everything that's being introduced in the world. So always stay sharp to notice these things. Otherwise, you'll be just another number in the simulation, and they don't really care about you. So you should always stay sharp and notice all the things that are going on in the world. So thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. See you on the next video.